And so the arc has started to really just wind down pretty much completely, with a lot of the stress and the high intensity of emotion that we've seen over the course of the last, 10, 20, 30 chapters or so. Even beyond that, with the whole liberation war and all that, it's been very heavy for a long, long time. Heavy in the action with the war, heavy in the drama with Izuku alone, essentially. And now it's time to kind of get things to a more, not overly happy place, but we're trying to transition back to the happiness. And so we get a bit of a funny little scene where the boys of Class 1A basically hog tie Izuku and throw him into the showers to rinse him up and throw him in the bath to get him all cleaned up. We also have a moment where Bakugo, despite his apologies and his wants to be a better person, still considers Izuku a rival. And while he hasn't completely gotten over calling Izuku Deku, he still is actually putting forth the attempt to call Deku Izuku. So, baby steps. He's not as volatile as he used to be, but he's getting better. Meanwhile, we see that Uraraka has passed out after the events of what happened that day, as well as a few others. Izuku apologizes for any trouble he gave to his class, while the others try to sympathize with his whole situation, now knowing everything that they could about One for All. Even going so far as to say, well, we kind of already moved past the initial shock of what was going on with you. Because, at this point, they've seen a lot of weird stuff. From the Nomus to All for One. It's just kind of like, if you had told us that beforehand, we'd probably be in a lot more shock. But at this point, it's just kind of like, okay, yeah, if there's a guy who can go out there and steal quirks, there's a potential to be able to pass on quirks. A quirk that can pass on quirks is just like, yeah, that's pretty cool. Although they also empathize with the fact that going from quirkless to top tier, yeah, they saw the results of that, the fact that he was literally shattering his bones, and it's just like, yeah, not a normal person would accept that. Your bones were breaking with every move that you made. That is not easy to deal with. And while they do question whether or not Deku should just get some rest, after all that he's been through, you'd think he'd be a little bit more sleepy. But Deku, he's recounting everything that happened between him and All Might, feeling that he treated him rather poorly. But then All Might is here, who apologizes for not being of any better help to Izuku during the trying times that he went through. Naturally, Deku doesn't buy into this. It's just like, no, you've been nothing but a help to me. Although Ashido does get a little bit mad that he's not apologizing to them because they were left in the dark and then abandoned, essentially, not given a full explanation, which he does apologize for. But he also tells them, try to be more transparent with the kids, that they have new information and they're going to start mustering forces to basically do an all-out attack. So that's telling you, hey, this is the buffer. This is the downtime between one heavy moment, another heavy moment, a little bit of downtime, and then we're going to get back into the heavy shit again. And All Might has kind of resolved to at least be a guiding force for the kids, so that they still manage to stay relatively safe. Because yes, All Might is no longer the hero he used to be, but he still has value in inspiring the next generation of heroes and keeping them on the right path to do the right thing and be where they matter most. So, dude, advising someone can also be a way of helping them. And Izuku, make sure that All Might knows that the food he gave him a lot of strength. It helped him to get through the month of running that he went through. And it was only when he didn't have All Might around that things really started to fall apart for Izuku. He really started to kind of lose his way. And the kids basically make a vow to do their best to protect all the things that they know and love. And with that, All Might departs yet again to join up with Endeavor's group in order to get some more, concrete intel on what they received from Stain. Meanwhile, Tokuyami really wishes Hawks would just hit him up and let him know that he's okay. Also, Izuku finally passes out after getting to kind of reconcile with All Might for the most part. He is out like a light on the couch. But a lot of the other kids also address the situation going on with the people at the shelters. And that's the fact that despite a lot of people in the fandom thinking that, oh, we're brushing a lot of these emotions to the side, the people are just kind of accepting it. No, it's called out right now. It's just like, there are still plenty of people who are not okay with Izuku being here. And Todoroki even calls out, that's also the reason why Endeavor didn't enter the shelter. With the situation with Dabi, Todoroki even thinks that he might be a concern to the people. There's some pretty heavy stuff going on, not just with the Deku, but also Todoroki. But Todoroki ensures that everyone know that he is trying to move past a lot of his family drama when it came to Endeavor, and especially when it comes to Dabi. And in a kind of sweet callback to the sports festival, the arc that a lot of people didn't care about, it's funny how a lot of My Hero Academia fans, they have such a tendency to not enjoy a lot of the academia stuff, like the sports festival or 1A versus 1B, because it's just like, no, I just want to get on to the good stuff, which is the clashes against the villains. And it's just like, I mean, dude, if these kids were on life or death struggles 24/7, they should never be in this school. It'd be like Hogwarts. I'd be questioning more of why have none of these kids left? They've experienced so much trauma that it's just like, kids, leave. Just leave. All you experience is hardship here. If any of them decided to just up and bail out, I wouldn't blame a single one of them. But at least with some of the more downtime and the nicer moments, it's just like, okay, I can understand why they're so endeared to each other and continuing on with their study. And Jiro comes up with the idea of getting the band back together. Because in an effort very similar to what went on during the Culture Festival, where a lot of the students were kind of mad at 1A because of the quote-unquote problems that they had brought to UA, and seeing them as troublemakers, it was during their whole performance that kind of helped to ease the minds of a lot of the students who were against them. And so Jiro is basically proposing to put on a similar kind of performance to liven up the feelings and emotions of the people. And while I can see some people seeing this as, oh, you're just going to put on a performance and make it seem like you're making light of the struggle that the people are going through, no, that's not what this is. It's an effort to do something to liven things up for the people. A moment of excitement, happiness, joy, whatever in a dim situation. Because that's the lessons that they've been learning. Let's be real. They've been taught, yes, save people, fight the villains, all that good stuff. But time and time and time again, there's also an emphasis on making sure that the people have a sense of ease to some degree. Yes, their whole struggle was to do something to get Izuku back and make sure he's safe. Not just out there on his own doing God knows what. But they also want to give the people at least a bright spot in their trying times. Now, this could go as well as Gal Gadot's Imagine video, or this could actually be an uplifting moment for the people. It all kind of depends. But it's a sweet sentiment nonetheless. Meanwhile, we cut back up with Endeavor, Best Jeanist, and Hawks, who are reviewing the information that they got from Stain, as well as the various other assassins who were sent after Deku and subsequently captured by him. as well as the Dr. Garaki, in order to get information on how long it'll be, what their timetable is for the rise of Shigaraki. And that because of the nature of Shigaraki and how he was prematurely released, he'll take about 2 months for his powers to completely set in. And that's when he'll probably go on the attack. They've already kind of wasted a month up till now just trying to get a sliver of information on All for One and Shigaraki, meaning that they still have 1 month to make their move. They've got to figure something out. I also love that the information they got from Stain was not just security records from Tartarus, so that gives them a better idea of who they might be dealing with moving forward. It helps them to gain a profile of potential opponents they might be going up against. But there was also a letter which was more or less the doctrine of Stain, which Hawks says is a love letter to All Might from Stain. But it's only because it was All Might that Stain encountered that he handed over that information. It would have gone to no one but All Might. And Hawks thinks it's ironic that it was the hero killer who became the greatest ally and assets to the hero. So while Class 1A plans something for the people of the shelter to help put their minds to some degree of ease, we'll have the heroes in the background gaining as much information as they possibly can. Now, unfortunately, things always do tend to go awry, and I'm really kind of hoping that they don't in this situation, because I really would like the people not to be put in a situation where they're able to be like, I told you so, to any of 1A for wanting to get Deku to a safe location. Because let's also be real, they were probably going to attack the shelters one way or another. The attack was going to come. At some point, the villains were going to congregate and go after the shelters because that's the only place that hasn't fallen into ruin. It's an easy target after a certain point when everything else has been destroyed or gone to pot. So tell me your thoughts and theories in the comment section below. How successful do you think the heroes will be in gaining their information? And do you think that Class 1A's little festival for the refugees will be successful, or a villain attack will happen and a lot of the people who thought that Deku shouldn't have gone to the shelters will ultimately be proven right? Let me know your feelings in the comment section below. And if you like this video, please comment, like, bell, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff. And I will see you fun people in the next video. Bye-bye.